Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. Up on the imagery, or no, up first is there we go, get the right button. Fire danger map, a little bit more extensive up here over the northeast interior. Rather sunny, warm day temperatures in the 70s up there. And also a little bit of an expansion up here even on the north slope there with dry conditions continuing. High fire danger, no extreme. Otherwise, lots of rain back to the west and southwest, keeping it pretty much non-existent elsewhere. Moving on to the satellite imagery, there's the clear skies up there today over the, from about the Fairbanks area northward on out to the Arctic coast. Pick up some clouds here down toward Tanana, but still some breaks. Thunderstorms breaking out in this area and a little bit to the north there, and then off to the east in a narrower band. Looks like over toward the White Mountains this afternoon. Front edging inland, bringing some rainfall amounts, anywhere from a tenth to as much as 4/10 of an inch of rain falling. Antioch picked up about 4/10 of an inch during the day today, 12-hour rainfall amounts during the day Friday. And rain extending back to the northwest, on down to the south. The main push here off to the southeast, kind of a split flow here with southerly flow and then northwest flow, so tearing the front apart in this position, with the bulk of the moisture is going to push off to the southeast. And lots of clouds, cloudy day here with some showers across southern Alaska and the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, and up toward the north a little bit there with another system beginning to spread moisture, and a pretty significant increase in the winds coming into the southeast coast later tonight and during the day tomorrow. See the outer cloud bands here just reaching the coast about mid-afternoon, earlier this afternoon here across Dixon Entrance and up over the interior, with some showers lingering down that way as well. And then cloudy skies, Copper River Basin, and but again, from about the Fairbanks area northward, get into the sunshine there, and then the convection firing up here over the central interior, right through this area. And also earlier today, as this front passed across the southwest mountains here, some lightning strikes, thunderstorm activity that seemed to dissipate this afternoon, but rainfall pushing into the Kuskokwim Valley, up to the Alaska Range today, and then east of the mountains and south of the mountains, just clouds and some showers. But Nikolai picked up about 1/3 of an inch of rain during the 12-hour period ending at 4 p.m. this afternoon. Friday afternoon, scattered showers Copper River Basin, scattered showers North Gulf Coast, showers again, cloudy and showers, kind of the summer of the cold upper low for the Panhandle. And the next one down here, already increasing the clouds there in the southern areas, are thickening the clouds up. And for tonight, that's going to lead to increasing winds and rain on the southern southeast coast here, especially after midnight. The front should move to about this position by 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. Break up to the north, though. North Gulf Coast, mostly cloudy, maybe some patchy areas of fog, but showers on the decrease. Still scattered showers this evening. Scattered thunderstorms over the eastern interior in a diminishing mode here. And this front really not moving much at all. The main jet diving off to the southeast, and then weaker southerly flow keeping it in position here and weakening as time goes on. So a narrowing band of light rain here from the northwest coast across the Seward Peninsula and the western interior. Beginning to pull back a little bit, actually. Probably look for the rain to end over most of the Kuskokwim Valley, except for possibly Sleet Mute, and it looks like a wet night coming up for the Yukon Kuskokwim Delta and the eastern Yukon Delta, drying out behind the front back toward the coast. Lots of moisture, low clouds, fog, drizzle, IFR, possibly even low IFR there for the Pribilof Islands. On down to the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula. West-northwest flow, a little bit of a break here. Weak ridging, warm front sliding up from the southwest here with some more moisture rolling into the far western Aleutians, but that's very light. And for the forecast for tomorrow, that whole system takes a track almost north-northeast, staying well to the west, at least through tomorrow. Otherwise, not much going on for the Bering Sea. Light winds, low clouds, fog, drizzle in some areas, especially on the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutians, and lots of moisture in that west-southwest flow. So IFR, low clouds, fog, rain, drizzle, light rain. Amounts not very much out over the far western Aleutians and southwest Bering. And then tomorrow, that front, already the bulk of the moisture dropping off, a new low center forms that we saw on the tonight chart, drops well off to the southeast. So by tomorrow afternoon, just mostly cloudy skies, a few isolated showers lingering for the Alaska Peninsula. Same thing there around Kodiak Island, and scattering out showers here over the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta areas, up across the Seward Peninsula. There's that remainder of the frontal boundary in place here, just dying in place. But the showers would be more numerous from the Seward Peninsula or Norton Sound on up to the northwest, and really scattering out and ending tomorrow afternoon. Look for some possible sunshine east of the Kuskokwim Mountains there for the valley on up into the west central interior. So losing the thunderstorm activity you saw today and replacing that with hopefully sunshine. And the thunderstorm threat shifts eastward here to what seems to be its usual spot from the eastern Alaska Range, across the 40-mile country, and then back toward the central Tanana Valley and those mountainous areas north of Fairbanks. But just a scattered, isolated thunderstorm activity expected. Maybe a few more clouds, risk of a shower there for the upper Yukon Valley, but nothing significant. No change from the north slope. Patchy areas of fog, light winds for the Arctic coast. The trough approaching, trying to spread some moisture in, probably not quite making it by tomorrow afternoon there for the northwest coast or the western Arctic coast. And then that one front rolls through the panhandle by tomorrow afternoon, weakens into a trough. That bulk of moisture heads into Canada. Break during the midday hours here across the central, or right along the coastline, or right along the southeast coast panhandle, with showers, and then another trough swinging in, increasing the rain along the coast tomorrow afternoon. Gale force winds in the forecast for a portion of the coast. In fact, ahead of the front, got a actual storm force gust winds in the forecast for tomorrow, 50-knot winds there, and then that'll probably be diminishing in the afternoon. Outlook for Sunday, a lot less wind, actually ridging, surface ridging, moving on up, but the so much moisture coming in that in spite of that, a lot of showers or rain, some of those moderate showers, and even some more offshore there. So a couple of wet days coming up, wet weekend for the panhandle, about sums that forecast up, but quite windy tomorrow on the south coast and much less wind on Sunday. Not bad here from the North Gulf Coast, although the thunderstorms threat now, in fact, actually, before I move north, maybe see some sunshine there for Yakutat back toward Cordova and on into the southwest interior, but looks like partly sunny maybe for south central Alaska. Thunderstorm threat now a little farther to the south. It looks like the Talkeetnas, maybe the Chugach, in across the Copper River Basin back to the western Alaska Range. Otherwise showers kind of cutting off there around Turnagain Arm, western Prince William Sound. So a partly to mostly kind of day there for the Kenai Peninsula, and showers up into the just west of Eagle. And then a sunny swath here from the northeast, again, upper Yukon Valley, southwestward. Scattered showers, mostly cloudy skies, Norton Sound, Nulato Hill, Seward Peninsula. And the remnants of a trough, that trough that swings in, just kind of drapes itself across the Arctic coast. There's cooler air back to the north with the surface high pressure area there, about 1,020 millibars. So there will be some areas of light rain, mostly across the north slope and the north side of the Brooks Range, which is the north slope, on out toward the eastern Arctic coast. So that'll be persisting there through much of the day on Sunday. Out to the west, another system, very weak. In fact, the rain shield with that, probably not as impressive as what I have drawn here, with a chance of rain, fog, drizzle, really light, probably an IFR producer more than anything else here for the Pribilofs, maybe down toward the Fox Islands, that frontal boundary trailing back across the west central Aleutians. Otherwise, just mostly cloudy, fog along the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula, possible sunshine on the south. Risk of a shower for Kodiak Island, otherwise partly and mostly cloudy there with light winds, patchy fog possible. Temperatures this afternoon for the southeast coast, again with the clouds and showers, just about all in the 50s, mid to upper, 61 North Stewart, same thing for Skagway. 58 at Yakutat, Cordova up to 60 degrees, same thing there at Gulkana, as well as Palmer, 56, Kenai, 63 though in Homer, 56 at Kodiak, and a 60-degree reading there at Gulkana. Tanana Valley, temperatures range from 74 at Fairbanks, more clouds, showers, 62 at Tanana, and a 64-degree reading there at McGrath. Eagle 71, 74 in Fort Yukon, sunshine there. Mixed 60s back to the west at Bettles in the Koyukuk Valley. 69 though, Anaktuvik, and 70s on the North Slope again. Didn't get Umiat on there, but Dead Horse up to 70 degrees. 64 there in Barrow, 69 Hattusuk, and then right in the lower to mid 60s here over the northwest coast, Deering up to 66. Otherwise, Kotzebue 50, or no, Kivalina 56, Kotzebue 60. 50 degrees at Nome, and mid to upper 50s there across the southwest interior. And for the lows tonight, upper 40s for the Pribilofs, afternoon temperatures, getting ahead of myself. Upper 40s this afternoon, otherwise lower 50s here for the Fox Islands and Alaska, 50s for the Alaska Peninsula, and then cooling back down just to a shade under 50 out towards Shemya. Lows tonight, upper 40s for the Pribilofs, lower 40s there for Savunga and Gamble. Near 50 for the Aleutians, or a little bit below, near 50 for the Alaska Peninsula, lower 50s there, northeast Bristol Bay. 40s to lower 50s, upper 40s, I'd call it the mid 50s here south of the mountains. Mid 50s north of the mountains, even the North Slope staying mild tonight, and the southeast coast, not much change. For the highs tomorrow, lower 60s for the Panhandle, a tad warmer, and 70s again, central eastern interior, pushing 80 there up over the Yukon Flats. Shawkitsik may hit 80 or 81 tomorrow. North Slope back in the 70s, 60s along the coast. Cooler and cloudy here with the lingering showers of that dying frontal boundary, keeping the temperatures in the 50s to lower 60s. Flying weather, VFR in the east, marginal to IFR, with the IFR out along the coast here in the west, all the way out over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Lots of IFR up to the southern coast of the Kenai Peninsula, Gulf of Alaska, but south of the coastline there, coming in toward Prince of Wales Island with that system coming in later tonight. And that swings northward, but weakens, so just areas of marginal VFR. Moisture streaming northward in the afternoon, so VFR becoming marginal there in the northern areas. IFR possible southern Prince of Wales Island, especially the closer to Dixon entrance you are. IFR off the coastline here in the Gulf of Alaska. IFR all along the west coast here through the Bering Strait, all of the Bering Sea and Aleutians, with the exception of the Fox Islands here, with a swath of VFR on the south side of the islands and peninsula. Passes Anaktuvik. VFR tomorrow, and same forecast for Radigan, looking pretty good. Lake Clark and Merrill, even though the clouds may increase or be around, I think there'll be VFR. Same forecast for Rainy, even more so VFR there. Rainy VFR. Isabel and Mentasta, both VFR, but a risk of a thunderstorm for Mentasta in the afternoon. Tanita VFR. Portage, marginal VFR to start with, becoming VFR, possibly VFR the entire day. Chilkoot and White starting out VFR. Look for those conditions to deteriorate. Ceilings visibility is coming down throughout the day with moisture streaming northward. And for the freezing levels, again, not much gradient across interior Alaska, about 8,000 feet everywhere. A little bit of a cool pool here southwest of the Panhandle. And then the much warmer air mass out to the west and southwest there, up to 14,000 feet from about Adak on out to Shemya or the Komodorskis. Icing tomorrow here with a thunderstorm convection over the eastern interior areas, and some spotty stuff possible way up there above 10,000 feet all the way down to the Alaska Peninsula, and then a more bigger threat here of icing of the rime variety there for the Panhandle, again working from south to north above about 8,000 feet. And the jet stream there, upper level low pushing into the coastline. Southwest jet south of the area there, but main low producing those strong winds on the south coast. Higher pressure keeping it dry up over the northeast interior areas, and some weak ridging out over the Bering Sea. 9,000 feet, we've got very light winds, light and variable over the eastern interior, right down to the North Gulf Coast. And then this strong band of southeasterlies, 25 to 40 knots here on the south coast, falling back to 20 knots, and then up toward Lynn Canal down to about 5. Northeast 15 to maybe 20 knots near or south of Kodiak Island. Turning north 25 out over the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, becoming westerly at 25 over the central Aleutians. And look out for some 30-knot winds there, very close to the western Arctic coast. And at 3,000 feet, call that about 25 right through here with that trough. Main energy back to the northwest. High pressure, light variable winds, central eastern interior, even back to the west there. Trough axis right through here, so light variable winds, and then northwest 20 to 25 for the Aleutians. And then the strongest winds tomorrow here along and off the southeast coast, eastern Gulf of Alaska, up to 40 knots there along the coast of Prince of Wales Island. And so with that, throw some moderate turbulence in, Western Dixon entrance, the Queen Charlotte's, right up to about Port Alexander, and then otherwise light to isolated moderate. Not too widespread an area there, but definitely will show up. Western Arctic coast, light to isolated moderate below about 4,000 feet. And also for the Aleutians, nothing really serious, but enough of a breeze there for some light to isolated moderate chop, especially for small aircraft, all below about 4,000 feet. And after the break, I'll return to look at the marine forecasts.
Welcome to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snider, and joining us once again is our good friend Eric Stevens from GINA, the Geographic Information Network of Alaska. Thanks again for joining us, Eric. We really appreciate it, as always.
Happy to be here, Dave.
Thanks. And, you know, we're going to ask you some more satellite questions here, but, you know,
Okay.
Since you're a regular guest, we're going to give you a riddle this time, kind of a trick start to the show.
Okay.
How do you see a polar bear in a snowstorm?
Sounds like a challenging question because
Okay.
the polar bear is white and the snowstorm's white.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Well, in the world of satellite meteorology, you couldn't, because the spatial resolution of this instrument that we're going to talk about today has 375 meters resolution, and even the most well-fed polar bear will not be 375 meters across.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to run into such a
No, it'd be a
creature,
bad day.
would you? In the satellite meteorology world, the equivalent would be, how do you tell the difference between clouds and then an area that has no clouds but's covered by snow,
Right.
a piece of ocean that has no clouds but has sea ice?
Ah.
All three of these are white. The
Right.
snow, the clouds, the sea ice, it's all white. So how, using satellite data, can you tell someone where the clouds are and where the clear areas are? This is important for aviators. Mariners want to know, in the ocean there, this white stuff, is that sea ice or is that just a cloud?
Right.
How do we tell the difference? And it turns out, if you look, say, at a picture of Alaska from the springtime, March or April, and it's high noon, so we're getting a lot of sunshine. If you were riding on a satellite with your human eye, look down, everything's white.
Right.
And we've got a picture of Alaska from early April, and we're seeing some of the lower elevations in south central Alaska are melting out, getting some brown ground there, but otherwise there's a whole lot of white on the image. What areas are cloudy, but what areas are clear and covered by snow or ice?
Okay.
It turns out that if we leave the visible spectrum behind a little bit, see, a satellite has multiple channels in the electromagnetic spectrum that it can look at.
Oh, okay.
Part of that's visible light, what we
Right.
see as humans, but there's a lot going on at other wavelengths. If we add in something that's called near infrared, what we couldn't quite see, but we're getting into that infrared territory, there's a magical property that we can exploit.
Secrets to find. Okay.
Oh yeah, this is actually powerful and almost magical, that at a slightly longer wavelength, when the sun shines down on Alaska and then it bounces off back to the satellite, at that near infrared wavelength, it turns out that snow and ice will absorb that wavelength, but liquid water, like liquid droplets in a cloud, will reflect it back.
Okay.
And that's not the way it works in visible. You know, visible, it just bounces off of all those targets the same. But at near infrared, snow and ice absorbs it, and the liquid will reflect it back. Liquid cloud droplets will do that.
Okay.
And so an image where everything looks white suddenly becomes colorful.
Oh,
And the way this recipe works is that the clouds look pink, and the snow-covered ground and the ice-covered ocean look blue. Suddenly now, we're able to see the polar bear in the snowstorm. We're able to see where the clouds are and where the snow is and where the ice is. This is a powerful advantage. Consider the case zooming into the Bering Strait area. What if you were asked to brief a pilot who wanted to fly, say, from Kotzebue down to Savunga or Gamble, and had to fly VFR, visual flight rules, so they had to stay out of the clouds? Could you use a satellite image where everything is white to provide that pilot any guidance?
It'd be pretty tricky.
Very tricky. And that's why we have to go to this other recipe where the all-white polar bear in the snowstorm becomes more colorful. And now we can tell the pilot, aha, this is a cloud you want to stay out of, but over here, sure, it looks white in the visible spectrum, but what we're doing, we'll show you, oh, this is just snow-covered ground, but it's clear, so you can fly right through there, visual flight rules. Same thing for a mariner who might want to get down to St. Lawrence Island, say, but has to avoid the sea ice. This product has applicability there as well.
Wonderful.
It's an amazing new technology, so many new channels The satellite that makes this imagery actually has 22 different channels that it looks at.
22 secret decoder rings.
22 secret decoder rings.
Okay. You know, I liken this to an activity I had in the car when I was growing up. We go on long car rides, and we do all the work in these activity books to, you know, stay calm, cool, and collected for our parents who are trying to get us across the state. But to get the answer, the real answer, you had to apply that red sheet to see the answer or the secret path or whatever the message was in that activity book to get you onto the next page. And it's also like a photography filter, right? If you're taking a lot of pictures, you can apply different colors to see different parts of that image. I mean, that sounds a lot like what you're talking about.
Oh, you know it. The information is in there all along. We just have to combine the channels in a way to reveal what's in there. And by the way, you're dating yourself. So you didn't have an iPad in the back of the car?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, we have, lastly, for dessert, there's a great image of the same kind of recipe. We're looking at South Central Alaska the first week of January. In first week of January, the sun, even at noon, is really low on the horizon, barely up. And in this image, the fun thing is the shadow of Denali. We can see the shadow of Denali over a lower pink cloud deck.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And Denali at 20,000 feet casts a big shadow. So this is another, just for fun, kind of application here. This is called multispectral satellite imagery, and it's the future. And happily, the future is now.
Oh, that is fascinating. And 22 different secrets that can be revealed from just one satellite tool that's floating overhead. Eric, thanks so much for joining us again. We can't wait to have you back and telling us more secrets of satellite technology that are passing over us every single day, many times a day, over Alaska and helping us all the way in many different parts of our lives. So thanks so much for joining us again.
Well, happy to be here.
All right. And thank you for staying with us. We'll be back with a little more weather here in just a few minutes. And of course, we'll have more Alaska weather facts anytime online.
Today's sea surface ice analysis showing even less ice now. This is about 1 to maybe 5/10 here on down toward the coastline. And that may lift a little bit to the north here over the next couple of days, but the trend for the next 3 to 5, the next 5 days is for it to continue melting. So this area by maybe Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday might be just pretty much open all the way across. Moving on to the marine forecast, gales here on the south coast tomorrow, late tonight and tomorrow, probably diminishing in the afternoon. Higher gusts as high as 50 knots until that front pushes through. And then easterly at 30, so pretty brisk up here on the central coast, falling back to 20 knots there to the north. Inside water's a lot lighter and more variable, 15 there for Stevens Passage to Lynn Canal. Small craft advisories for Clarence Strait, southeast 25 of those seas at 6 feet. Much less wind, which will start tomorrow afternoon and then through tomorrow night. And Sunday, though, still, again, due to another trough coming, but just small craft advisories here, 25 knots instead of the gales with storm force gusts in the forecast for tomorrow. But still back up to 25 knots here for Clarence Strait, 6-foot seas. 15 knots out of the southeast for Stevens Passage. South winds 20 for Lynn Canal, northern Lynn Canal, and easterly 25, so down a little bit from tomorrow for the next day there on Sunday. Not much change up on the extreme north coast. For Prince William Sound, variable northwest at 10, light winds, northern Cook Inlet, light northerly south of the Forelands, 15-knot northeasterlies, Kachemak Bay through the Shelikof Strait area, same thing east side of Kodiak Island. And northeast here, 20 knots for the Barren Islands, otherwise the North Gulf Coast, northeast at 15 with 4-foot seas. And then those go light and variable across just about the entire area here. Kodiak Island, Shelikof Strait, the Barrens, Kachemak Bay, North Gulf Coast, really laying down light variable winds, seas 4 to 6 feet. Prince William Sound, light variable, 10 knots, 2-foot seas, south to southwest. Cook Inlet, light, 10 knots, seas 3 feet. Then for Bristol Bay on Saturday tomorrow, east at 15, north 20 knots here coming across the Alaska Peninsula, then back to east from Castle Cape to Sitkinak at about 15. Sunday's outlook, light variable winds for the peninsula laying down there as well. Light westerlies for Bristol Bay, northwest 15 knots from Sitkinak on down to roughly, say, about Chignik there on that longitude. And then for the eastern Aleutians, 25-knot winds on the south side of the islands, eastern islands there with 7-foot seas, but small craft advisories on the north side as well, just due to the 8-foot seas we've got going here. And that wind pattern, small craft advisories extend into the central Aleutians and then out over the far western Aleutians with southwest of 25. Then for Sunday, these winds, missed the change label there, but Sunday's forecast, southwest 25 here for the western Aleutians, west-southwest 20 for the Adak-Atka area, and then really lightening up and becoming variable there, especially for Unalaska Island, down to 10 to 15 knots, with seas coming down to 4 to 5 feet. Southwest coast, south of Nunivak Island, light variable winds tomorrow, 10 at 10 knots, 5-foot seas. West at 15 for the Pribilof, southwest there 15 for St. Matthew Island, and winds pretty light, west-southwest for the Yukon Delta coast up to St. Lawrence Island. And then those turn southeast at 20 for Sunday there with southwest 20-knot winds, St. Matthew Island and to the west, seas building to 7 feet. Otherwise, southwest coast, southerlies at 15, 4-foot seas. Southwest at 15 with 5-foot seas for the St. Paul, St. George area. And east 15 knots, eastern Beaufort Sea coast. Pick up to 20 knots here on the central coast, turn southeast, turn southerly at 20 on the west side, southwest 20 from Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson, and then down to 15 knots from Cape Thompson down to the Bering Strait. And for Sunday, those turn northeast at 15 here, otherwise light northerlies there for the western Capes, and west at 20 for the west side, and the central coast turning northwest for a change with 15 knots with 4-foot seas for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast. And for tonight, again, a weakening front stalled out over the western part of the state, keeps it cloudy and damp. There are decreasing showers, thunderstorms, central interior, rain and winds spreading into the panhandle. Keeps it wet and windy, although a break moving across the central areas tomorrow. And then it stays wet again on Sunday there with thunderstorms a little farther south here, maybe down to the Chugach, possibly at Talkeetnas. Another front approaching the coast, but pretty sunny in the southwest.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.